My name is Jacqueline Mejias Fuertes. I am the Regional Director of the Small Business Development Center here at Brookdale Community College, and our particular center does cover Monmouth and Ocean County. Along with me today is my colleague and director, Lillian Mauru, which is the director at TCNJ. And together we have collaborated to bring to you this procurement event where you're going to learn about registrations and certifications in case you're looking to do work with the government or larger entities and the importance behind it. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the Small Business Development Center, we are a network here in the state of New Jersey consisting of 11 centers that cover all 21 counties. Our main purpose and focus is really to help businesses become sustainable and grow. We all know that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. That is no different here in the great state of New Jersey. So our particular headquarters is that of Rutgers University Business School at Newark, and we have an array of programs. The program that you are listening to today is about procurement and really the registration process because it is the first step in you are looking to do work with the government, and it doesn't matter what size your organization is in, except that it should be small. There is a criteria of what small is, and we have a fantastic presenter who is going to take you, not just educate you as to the different registrations, certifications that you need to engage in or be part of in order to qualify to obtain government contract if that is what you so desire. So I am not, I don't want to keep on going. Like I said, we did have some technical issues, but I do believe we are set. And someone is playing with the screen, as you can see right in front of me, trying to get it done. And this is what happens when we are doing hybrid. We are still working on these functionalities, making sure that they are acceptable and that they are working. So technology, I always say, is our friend, and we're going to learn today that even registering your small business, you use technology for that. So once again, I do want to introduce our speaker today, Reina. Reina, are you available now to start speaking? And once again, welcome to our procurement event. And Reina, take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome to today's webinar. And my name is Reina Valenzuela. I'm an advisor for the New Jersey Small Business Development Centers. And I have been working with the College of New Jersey for 10 years now as a business advisor. And over the years, I have worked with small businesses in their structuring, certifications, and also looking for those contracts, right? And getting and managing those contracts when you do receive them. So this presentation is really going to walk you through an overview of the certifications in the state of New Jersey. But before I get into the state of New Jersey certifications, I want to give you some basic information so we're all speaking the same language. And now I don't want to just throw acronyms at you and then you'll be wondering what that is, right? So I just want to get a round of yes, I'm here. Thank you in the chat. Go ahead and type your names. I know that you're this is a hybrid, so I want to make sure that the people online are feeling engaged as well, present, and participating with this the group of experts that we have here. Lilian Mauro, thank you for having me, and Jackie, a pleasure always collaborating with you. So just type in the chat your name, your business name. I just like to know who's in the room. We will have live Q&A at the end. And due to the technical issues that we have been experiencing, we would like to leave all the questions for the end. But if you find something that as we go through this, a question pops in your mind and you want to ask about, you don't want to forget it, put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A. That way we can go back and answer questions. Okay. So without any more housekeeping issues, I think we can move forward. So what we'll cover today, we're going to talk about, like I said, the basic terms and concepts, so we're all on the same page and understanding the terms that we will be discussing today. We're also going to talk about what to consider when applying for certifications, because certifications is not a one size fits all. There are really many different certifications out there for corporate, for government, from national organizations and councils. So we'll talk about who certifies and what types of certifications are out there. And then we're going to talk about the specific reason why we're here today, which is the state certifications, right? We're going to go over the certification process and requirements, including some checklists that will become very handy as you go through this process. And of course, we're gonna touch upon some very common mistakes I've noticed over the years that people make and that may cause some problems, and how to avoid them. And of course, the reason why you're here, right? You want to learn how to do business with the government, especially the state of New Jersey. So where to find New Jersey state contract opportunities. And we'll walk you through all of this. And, if you have questions, again, put them in the chat on the Q&A section, and we'll address them at the end. Okay? So let's get started here. Let's start with the basic terms and concepts. The certifications that we're going to talk about today are the SBE, that stands for Small Business Enterprise, the WBE, Woman-Owned Business Enterprise, the MBE, the Minority-Owned Business Enterprise, the VOB is the Veteran-Owned Business, and the DVOB is the Disabled Veteran-Owned Business. So the two separate certifications for the veteran-owned companies. So I'm going to be saying SBE, WBE, MBE, so you know what I'm talking about when I mention those acronyms. And just get used to those, because you'll be hearing a lot about the certifications in the next sessions as well. So let's get started here. And let me introduce to you a few other terms that are not very common. As we go through our day-to-day, we never hear the word procurement, right? Procurement is like, what is that, right? Well, that is really the purchasing process and the term that is used by government agencies as they procure services and products for their offices, for their departments. And so you hear procurement a lot. That's really just, think of it as just purchasing, okay? The purchasing process. We'll talk about bidding, and bidding is really a transparent procurement process that has been established by government regulations that are followed in order to acquire those goods and services from vendors. And it is regulated. It has a very specific process. And when we talk about bidding, we're talking about you presenting a proposal to a government agency. When you are, you're interested in doing business with the government, they publish the contract. When it's open for bids, you present your proposal. And, that is another topic for another presentation, truthfully, because it is very complex. So I also mention a lot the set-aside programs. The set-aside programs are really contract dollars that are literally set aside by the government to buy goods and services from certified companies. And so this is done because back in the day, we could not compete for those government contracts. And it was former President Carter that set up this process to put funds aside in bigger contracts to bring in subcontractors or small business vendors into the mix, so that they also get a piece of the pie. So that is basically the terms that I'm going to cover. If I say something that doesn't, sound familiar to you, you can always ask, and I will address those questions at the end. So what do you consider when you are going into this, right? You are doing business already, and you have a really good structure, a good team, you have goods and services that you want to bring to the government. And what should you consider before getting certified? First of all, the ownership of the business has to be 51% owned by the person that qualifies for the certification. So if it's a veteran, 51% owned by the veteran. If it's a woman owned business, 51% or more, of course, owned by the woman. So it's really, that's the key. If you don't have this split in the ownership, sometimes you go into with your partner and then you go 50-50 because you feel that is fair. That is fair. But if you're going for a certification, you have to have the 1% if you are the only one that qualifies. If you both qualify, of course, the company is 100% owned by the qualifying individuals. So it's not just about the legal ownership of the business, it's about demonstrating that you have legal, financial, and managerial control of the business. So over the years, I've seen people say, oh, I'll put my wife and it'll be a woman-owned business. Well, when they go through the certification process, they look at the role of the woman in the business, the management of the business, the day-to-day operations. So think about that as you start putting together your documentation. So you want to make sure that it's all in there. So as I said earlier, certifications are not one size fits all. There are many certifications or types of certifications out there, not just by the government entities. There are certifications that are set up by some corporations, and there are also certifications that are set up by nationwide councils, like the Minority Business Development Council. And they are really separate entities that have a process, have fees involved in the process, have requirements, a separate set of requirements. So when you want to do business with a corporation, that corporation might say, hey, I want you to have the certifications of this council or that council. But today we're going to talk strictly about the New Jersey certifications because, well, believe me, they are the easiest ones to obtain, and they're also free right now. There used to be a fee, but they have removed that fee for, I don't know how long it's going to be that way, but it's right now free of charge. So certifications, something that you should know, that being certified does not guarantee a contract. It's not like you could certify and all of a sudden contracts come your way. It doesn't happen that way. That's just the first step. It's like something you can use as to leverage when you submit your proposals. So it's not like such sure deal you're gonna have a contract right away. You're gonna find out that you need to work in building relationships and learning what works, and making sure you got all your documents in order, and work towards obtaining that contract and building that capacity. Some applications, again, the state doesn't have a fee, so it's zero. But some applications, if you go with the councils, for example, it may be in the thousands of dollars. You need certified financial statements. You need a few different things that may cost more money besides the filing fee. So keep that in mind. The New Jersey certifications are free of charge, and the councils and the other national organizations may have high fees. I've seen anywhere from $400 to $700, plus the requirement of audited financial statements that might add up a lot more money to the mix there. So the government, this is something very interesting that you need to consider. The government is a very different buyer. You're used to, if you do retail or if you do B2B, of course, you know your target market, you know your consumer. But when you deal with the government, it's a different buyer, different needs, different processes. So understanding that there may be a learning curve for you, and how to deal with the government, how to meet those requirements, how to even submit your proposals and process, get your paperwork in order. So all of that is part of the learning process for you. That's why you're here, and that's why this is just the first step for you. So because the government is a different type of buyer and it has different expectations, you should have designated resources that will focus on this customer, that will be taking care of, putting together the proposals, that will be making sure that, the contract, the scope of the project, the contract requirements are met, that you fulfill all your financial obligations, all your contractual obligations with this buyer. And of course, the invoicing, right? Keeping things in line so that you can get paid. So it is a very different buyer. It's a good buyer because, your money, is secure. You'll be getting paid. It's just a matter of when. So make sure you dedicate some resources to focus on this target market, this segment. So let's talk about who certifies. In the government sector, the federal government has certifications. The state has certifications. Some counties also have certifications. Municipalities often have certifications or even registrations. And some government agencies have certifications. So like I said, it's not a one size fits all, right? So I want you to know that if you have a certification with the state of New Jersey, you may find that that certification is accepted by counties and municipalities, government agencies, because it's a state certification. You may also find that it's also accepted by corporations. And that's a big plus because they do recognize this is a state certification. So obviously, you're in good standing there. There are the third-party certifications that I mentioned, the nationally recognized councils and certifying organizations. And those are separate applications that you file. So there's sometimes a misunderstanding with, what certification you have. And I've seen people put on their website, put on their capability statements that they're certified by this organization or that organization. If you don't have the certification directly by that organization, don't include it there. What you want to do is make sure that you include the certifications that you do have, especially if what you have is the state of New Jersey, you clearly state that you have the state certification. Corporations also have their own processes to engage diversity supplier. And then, vendors from different backgrounds can sign up in their vendor portals, have an application and get certified to provide goods and services to that corporation. And corporations are very unique because they do have the funds, they have the budget to purchase goods and services, but they also have very strict procedures, right? And the head of a department might need to go through the vendor portal to hire or to buy from a vendor that's in that portal, and they cannot go outside that group of people or companies that are already certified and approved in the portal. So think about that. If you want to go and work and get a contract from a company, then that is a different process that you need to consider. Registering for their vendor portals. Sometimes they have premier vendors certification. So these are things that you need to find out. So it depends on who is your target market. So let's talk about just a little bit about the government, the federal government, because there's some confusion sometimes as to, what certifications are available where. So let's go here with the federal programs. The federal program has several certifications. The most common ones are the 8A certification. This is to access federal contracts, right? And these are really competitive, set aside contracts. And you need to be certified as an 8A. having state certification is not enough. You have to be certified as an 8A certified company. They also have the Mentor Protege program, the MPP, that helps small businesses partner up with more experienced companies, and they become mentors of the new and smaller companies to win those contracts. So it's kind of a joint venture. You work with a larger corporation to bid for a contract, and you get, a piece of that pie, right? You learn how to work with the government. So these are federal programs, not state. The SBA Women-Owned Small Business Program is also federal. And then you might find that, they have at the state level, also some counties have certifications. You might want to look into that. But again, the state certification is the one that you want to go for. If you don't have anything, this is the one that you want to start preparing for. So here are the state certifications, specifically SBE. And again, I'm not going to go through the acronyms again. SBE, the MBE, the WBE, the VOB, the DVOB. And of course, if you are a woman and also minority, you get both, right? MWBE. So all of these things can be done with one single application. If you qualify for multiple, you still have to do one application, and there's a uniform certification service that they have online. And the link is on the screen right here. I'm going to give you a very basic walkthrough the portal because you need to set up your account and start your application process. And I will give you some tips about that too, because it can get a little bit difficult if you don't know what to do and you start putting together an application and you don't complete it. So let's look at the New Jersey certifications.
I'm a panelist.
Somebody, thank you, Frank, for muting yourself. So why get certified, right? It seems like a lot of work. It is, but it's really easy when you have somebody assisting you, and that's why the SBDCs are here to help you. You get certified for many reasons, and these are the top 4 that I find. The eligibility for the set-aside contracts is really available for certified companies. That's a 25% set-aside in New Jersey, and there are other programs that would require your certification. Let me just give you an example. New Jersey SIP, the NJ SIP program, right, where they awarded vouchers for you to buy an electric car. This is from the New Jersey Economic Development Agency, NJEDA. And guess what? If you had a certification, they gave you more. The voucher was for more money, according to the certification that you had. So it's a little bit more of an advantage. And this is a very direct example of how much more you can get if you're certified. So the voucher was for $100,000 for the electric van or vehicle, and then $4,000 more if you had a certification or more. So it helps. It helps a lot. So when you're a small business, right, every bit helps. So now think about the credibility. You're certified. It's a great credential to have for your company. More and more companies are putting these, woman certified, woman-owned certified, or minority-owned company in their tags or their labels and their websites. Why? Because it sets you apart, right? The company is recognized as a minority-owned company, as a woman-owned company, and people are caring about doing business with small companies that, I care. For example, I go shopping, I try to avoid the big retailers. I go to the small shops. And this is where, you can actually build your brand around, a woman-owned business certification, and say, okay, you're helping me, you're helping my community, you're helping my family, you're helping a local vendor. So the large corporations even have programs specifically targeting the vendors that are women-owned, minority-owned, to help them um, uh, compete in the marketplace. So contracting opportunities with many corporations are out there if you're certified, and you can show that you have not just certification, but also capacity to deliver the goods and services. So many corporations will be accepting your state certifications. It's a great credential for your company. And of course, it gives you bragging rights, right? You can put it on your website, your brochures, your capability statement. If you're not aware of what that is a one-pager presentation of your company that you share with corporations when you go, to networking events or when you submit something to a company. So it gives you bragging rights. So I'm wondering in the room, who is already certified, or who is looking to get certified, or if you already tried it and it didn't work out for you. So share your thoughts in the chat and post your questions in the Q&A. So let's move forward here and let's talk about the requirements. So remember that I said the qualifying individual, the owner, has to have at least 51% or more share in the business. So it's not like, if it's not registered, if it's just you're working as a freelancer, the company is not registered as an LLC, you might not have a clear division of who owns what, right? So this is something that you need to discuss before you even present an application. So you have the documentation to show that you have, or the person that is applying for the certification has 51% ownership. So how do you do that, right? The qualifying individual, the one with the 51% ownership, has to show proof that that person belongs to the qualifying group: minority, female, or veteran. And I'll talk about the documents that you can get together to prove that. So you have to also demonstrate that you have that legal, financial, and managerial responsibility of the business. So legal, you will show it in the documentation of the certificate of formation or articles of incorporation. Financial, you'll show it in the, if they want to see contracts, if they want to see bank accounts, that you're there, you're the person that signs the checks, basically. And managerial, that you really oversee the operations of the company. So these are the requirements for the individuals. Now, the company will have other requirements as well. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So the evidence that you need to have ready to show for the women-owned businesses, they want to see your passport, license, or birth certificate to show that, your gender. For minorities, they want to see the passport, permanent residence card, or alien residence card, birth certificate, or birth certificate of the parents if your ethnic background is derived from your parent, even though you were born here. So, and if you have a document that is in a foreign language, it should be translated. So think about the documentation that you'll need to show to the state in order to get approved for this certification. For veterans, the evidence showing that you were honorably discharged or released as a veteran, you will need to show Form DD 214, and this is issued by the veterans VA, and then the disability award letter if you're a disabled veteran. So these are the things you need to start looking for and getting them ready for this process. Now, let's move along here. And the requirements from the company. So once you prove that you are eligible because you qualified as, woman, minority, veteran, then you have to think about what the company needs to show to demonstrate that it qualifies. So the company has to be registered in New Jersey. You have to show the certificate of formation of the company, articles of incorporation, business registration certificate if you're not registered. Let's say, if you're a sole proprietorship. So you still need to show that you register NJ, you filed NJ Reg, and you have a certificate of authority or business registration certificate. You also have to show that you're operating in New Jersey. And this can be very tricky sometimes, especially if a company is from out of state and they're operating in New Jersey. But let's say you don't have a lease or a place where you rent and you have a brick and mortar storefront. You're operating from home. So what do? You show that you're operating from home by showing that you own the home where you operate, or you lease the space and you're operating from that location. So home-based businesses do qualify. You just may need to show something in addition to, so that they can see that you're operating from the state. One of the other things that I've noticed is that operating from the state of New Jersey, if you are an out-of-state company, that they want to see that 51% or more of your revenue is derived from sales in the state of New Jersey. So that's another thing that you need to show. You also want to show evidence that the company is majority owned by the qualifying individual. And if it's a corporation, you might want to show stock certificates. If it's an LLC or an LLP, the certificate of formation and a breakdown of the ownership, who owns what percentage. And that you may need to show the partnership agreement. So a few things here and there that you need to start thinking about, because you may submit the application and then they'll come back to you and say, hey, how about this? You have this document, or how can you demonstrate, to get approved, demonstrate that you own this company. So I have seen over the years many people that have a corporation registered, but they don't have stock certificates. They never had one. So they go and get stock certificates, they fill them up, and then they want to see the log of the stock certificates, who got what certificate and for how many shares. So these are the kinds of things you might need some assistance with if you don't know what to do. But trust me, it's all doable. Now, let's talk about the process. The process is really very basic. You go to the NJ portal, Division of Revenue, SBE registry. You go and register first. You register your company. For that, you'll need 9 digits of your taxpayer identification number and then the first 4 characters of your business name. So you put in those pieces of information and you register first. So it's really very simple. In this screenshot that I took is actually my private company that is showing here, but you will see once you enter that information, it will pop up, with your company name based on the information that you have in the state records. You go straight for the apply, and it will take you to this step, the basic qualifications. So you want to check off that if this was a gifted business to the current owner, you want to check that off. If the business was previously denied certification, you want to check that off. That just triggers another review. If the business is a nonprofit, you will check that off. It will trigger a review. You do want to check the next block of questions, because that's the qualifying, basis for the application. The business is independently owned and operated. The majority of the owners are New Jersey residents. Remember, location of the business. The principal place of business is in New Jersey. The company has office or leased rental agreements or deeds in the state of New Jersey, especially if it's a home-based business. The business has a minimum of 51% gross sales in New Jersey or 51% full-time employees located in New Jersey. So these are the basics of your application. Well, this is what qualifies you to do this application. And then, of course, If you're minority-owned, women-owned, or veteran-owned, you check off whatever is applicable here. So based on this, the system will give you a results page that will say, hey, you qualify for this, and this certification. So like I said, you can apply with one single application, apply for all that you qualify for. You may be veteran, you may be woman, minority, all 3 certifications are applicable to you. You can do all 3 with your this one application, and all your documentation will be filed once. So these are the list of documents that you'll see pop up once you start the process. Again, the information about the business owners. If you don't have a specific document, create one, just one sheet of paper with the information about the owners, partners, shareholders, whatever is applicable, with the names and addresses and the percentage of ownership. Okay, that's very important to have. So have that document and upload it into the system. Again, if you have a corporation, you may have a board of directors. They want to see the list of the board of directors, names and addresses. If you have officers, list of the business officers. The number of shares issued in case of corporations, again, sometimes you have share certificates, but that's not enough. You have to have the log for the certificates. So you want to show, certificate number 1 issued to whomever for this number of shares, certificate number 2, and that's basically what the log does, document who gets what. There's something else that you want to show with the documentation is the articles of incorporation if you are a corporation, or an LLP, the certificate of formation with the partnership agreement or joint venture agreement, wherever is applicable. They're also asking for an organizational chart, and you say, well, I'm just a one-person show, I wear all the hats, I don't have anybody else, but they still want to see that you're the head of this company, right? And if you have assistants, if you have contractors, they go under you. They just want to make sure you are the head of the company, and create a simple chart. I mean, and oftentimes during our sessions, we actually give you a sample chart so you can create your own and have something to upload, because if you don't put it in there, it might trigger an email saying we're not going to approve this unless you have this in place. So you don't want to do that, because it just causes delays, and who wants to waste time? Now, if you're a woman-owned, minority-owned, you will need to show your birth certificate, especially if you're born in another country. Make sure that it's translated, and to show that you're a woman, of course, driver's license is plenty, passport is enough to show your identification. There's one more document you have to submit, attesting to the fact that you are majority owner of the company. This needs to be notarized. So that's an affidavit, and it's signed by you before the notary, and it's scanned and uploaded into the system. You also certify as you go through the application. You put the same attestation just by clicking a box and putting your name. But they want to see the notarized document uploaded. So that's basically it. You check everything that you have, and you submit. One of the tricky parts about this submission is that you have to put it all at once. You cannot save it for later. You cannot upload one document and come back to upload the next one. You have to do it all at once, or else it doesn't get processed, okay? So get your paperwork ready. That's all I'm saying. Now, because that's critical, we want you to prepare all your documents to be submitted at once. And what you also want to do is get your documents, scan them, give it a name of the document, and in the document name, don't leave it whatever scan number 3. No, you give it a name so you know what document you're submitting and they know what document they're receiving. So give it a name and upload your PDFs, and you have to click all the boxes and submit all your documents in one sitting. You can go back and upload a second document by, before you close the window. If you close the window, you cannot go back to it and you have to start all over again. I'm sorry. So if you're a minority-owned enterprise and MBE, you want to show all of these documents. And again, I'm not going to repeat them all because they are really repetitive from the previous screenshot, and also you'll see them over and over again with the others, the other checklists. But you got to have these checklists ready for yourself. If you are online right now via Zoom, take a screenshot of this because you'll need to get these documents ready. If you don't have them ready, you'll be stuck with a process that is not going to be completed, and you're going to be frustrated. Trust me, I've been frustrated too, trying to do this when not everything is in place. So get a screenshot of this. If it's a minority-owned enterprise, the key part here is showing that you are a minority from, African American, Hispanic American, Asian. And then you have to show how you classify as such. And that means your birth certificate or your parents' birth certificate if you were born here from immigrant parents. So make sure you do this. And then the disabled veteran-owned business will also need, of course, the document from the disability award letter that is issued by the Federal Service. Make sure if you are in this category, take a screenshot of this. We'll also be sharing some of this information, I believe, the presentation, and we'll give you some more documents to use as references, okay? So for the woman-owned enterprise, you can show basically your driver's license and your passport to show gender, but that's basically what they want to see. And all the other documents are very standard to the other documents that are required for the other types of certifications. So that's why one application can actually be used to get all the certifications that you're eligible to receive. Here's the veteran-owned business, not disabled, just veteran-owned. Form DD 214 is required. The discharge letter. Of course, the last thing that I have here is the attestation. And the attestation, we have a sample that we share with our clients so they can go make sure they get the right letter with the right text, because you need to state, you're minority-owned, women-owned or minority-owned, and that, you have control of the company. This is your attestation, and we give you a sample for that. Now, let's talk about common mistakes. It's already 10 o'clock. I'm sure you have questions. I see a lot of, things popping into the chat and the Q&A, so we'll be addressing those questions. So common mistakes, I've seen these over the years. First mistake is not selecting all applicable certifications. Sometimes you do one and then you forget to do the other one. And guess what? In the application, you can select SBE as one, and then MBE and WBE. So the reason being is that because you're a small company, you will automatically get SBE. But if you don't check off that little box, it's not going to give it to you. So although you qualify, and you could just, if you don't check it off, you forget to check it off, you have to apply again. So to make proof that the qualifying person is a majority owner, 51% or more, and with managerial, legal, and fiscal control. So I used to do these applications when they didn't have an online system, and we had to have an application filled up, paper, all the documents gathered and submitted by mail and sent to Trenton. So it was crazy, right? Because you had to have a lot more. Now with this system, you can get you can submit the documentation. It's easier. You can submit the documentation online, get it approved online, and what's more, they give you a certification that is valid for a year. If you don't have all your taxes in this, you don't have to submit all the taxes. You don't have to submit a whole bunch of documents. That now they allow you to get your certification and get it approved, and it's valid for a year. And in the 1 year review, then they may be asking you for more documents. So do get all your documents in order so that you can present them. If you don't have something this year and they request it before they approve it, that's fine. If they don't request it, just make sure you get it ready for next year, especially the financials. In the other number 2 common mistake is the required documents are incomplete or missing. It used to be that you had to submit everything at once or else. Right now, as long as you have all the supporting documents organized, labeled, scanned, uploaded in PDF, and I say PDF, ideally, not that it's just PDF, but it's better to use PDF formats because you might have a different type of software that if you create a document that is not in PDF, it may be changing the formatting when you upload, or when they download it to view it. So I just always recommend PDF. So scan all those documents, save it with the right name, upload the PDF files, and save with each upload. So don't forget, right? Upload, save, upload, and save. Another common mistake, missing taxes or incomplete tax returns for the past 2 years. So what happens is that the application asks you for your financial information, revenue for the past 3 years. And you go back to your tax returns for the last 2 years and you put that information in. And you go to the current year and you put a year to date because you haven't done your taxes yet, right? So those 3 years. But what if, hey, you are just started, you don't have tax returns for the full year. You were not operating last year, and so you don't have taxes. You don't have that information. So what you do is, remember, you're going to be submitting documents showing when the company was registered. So what you do is you put in the information about the company, of course, and then when they ask you about the financials, you say 0 for last year and this year, year to date, the amount that you have. What they want to see is that the company is actually operating. It's not like a shelf company that was created and is not operating at all. They want to see that you are, operating, you have some revenue, you have some contracts, and they might ask for stuff like that later on. But what you want to do is don't leave that blank, right? You got to put it in. So don't think that if you don't have 3 years, you can't apply. You can. In fact, I remember when I applied in 2009, I applied for my certification, and I was just brand new. I didn't have my revenue. I think it was like $100 or something like that. They came back and asked me for evidence. And by the time they came back to me 4 months later, because everything was by mail then, 4 months later, they asked me for evidence that I was operating, that I had revenue, that I had contracts, and I was able to show invoices and checks and bank statements to show that I was operating in the state. So I was approved. But now that everything is online, it may be quicker, but that doesn't mean that, a year from now, they won't ask you for all these documents. So, but you can still apply if you don't have 3 years operating. So you have to be active, right? Show that you are an active company. Mistake number 4, missing business codes for New Jersey construction codes or commodity codes. This is very common, and it's very frustrating because the system allows you to go in. They give you a link that you see at the bottom here under 4. They give you that link to go and find the codes that you need. The thing is, you go into that link and you go and look for the codes, and you spend some time looking for the codes, and you can't find the right codes. And then by the time you get back, the system has closed down because you spent too much time outside looking for codes. So my recommendation to you is just get your codes in advance, have all your codes ready. You can have, I believe it's up to 12 codes that are applicable to your business activities. So get the codes first, insert the codes right away, and then move on. If you go and say, oh, it's just one code, I'm gonna go get it, grab it and put it in there, what happens is you go out of the system, you come back into the system, and sometimes it has erased everything. By the time you get back, it erases everything. So you got to start filling in every single box all over again. So be mindful of that. Common mistake number 5, failing to submit a notarized certification. That attestation needs to be notarized. So if you don't know what to do, ask us for a sample, and attend the next webinar, or, request counseling, because that's what the SBDC does, helps you get these things done. So we can help you during a one-on-one counseling session, or even, if you are already a client of the centers, then by email, you can have some contact with an advisor. So there's one more thing I want to leave you with. When you submit your application, there may be requests for additional evidence or questions, right? So if you don't respond, they'll deny the application, okay? And if they deny the application, you may be able to appeal, but it's a longer process. So you want to avoid all of this. Just be mindful. The email that you put in there with your application is the email they will, respond to with questions or clarifications, or to request additional documents. So make sure that you check that email box. They will also let you know if you've been approved. So you can also go back to the system, put in your information, and it will tell you if it's approved. And one more tip, one very important tip. When you submit your application and everything is in place, you will automatically receive an approval, a certification for SBE. Download it, save it. That's your first certification. So you get it right away, no waiting, okay? So this is a good thing for you to do, and you can start using that for whatever needs. So I'm going to go into the next section here, and I know there may be a lot of questions here, but we're gonna really get into it more during one-on-one counseling or another sessions that we'll have. So I have a question for you. Has anybody submitted a contract bid? Anybody in the room? Did you ever try to submit a contract bid? Okay. So the contract bids are a whole process. Very, the first time you do it is kind of complex, because you have to get a lot of documents in place, forms to fill out, insurance and things. And I want you to know that it's not rocket science, but there is a learning curve. So be patient with yourselves. Be patient, because there is a learning curve. A lot of these technical terms and processes are new to you, and they may seem like different, learning a different language, but that's okay. You can do it. The process of a bid, of submitting a bid, entails several steps. Getting the contract bid information, reviewing all the information, attending meetings, pre-bid meetings that they have to explain the scope of the project. Making sure you even sign in when you attend those meetings. It's important, because if it's a required meeting, you have to be there. and sign in, and then understanding when the bid is required, the proposal have to be submitted. There's usually a date and a time that has, that is set up in advance. You have to submit this bid, and then you may even want to attend the opening of the bids. It's usually a public meeting where you attend and you find out what happened, right? Who gets the contract. So this whole thing is a process, and I just want you to be mindful of that you will be learning as you go through this. You may need some hand holding, and we can probably assist you with that, but you need to be mindful that you need to invest the time, and you have to, time and energy and some resources that you need to make sure that you go through this process. So where do you find these contract opportunities, right? How do you get to find these bids? So the bids are found in the New Jersey portal. It's called the NJ Start portal. So this is where you can go and find out what open contracts are out there, open for bids. Even you can find awarded contracts and see who got the contract. So you can start checking this out. There's a few websites here for government contracting opportunities. And New Jersey has this really great website, the NJ Start. And this is a quick reference guide here that, we can share with you, of course, with the links where to go and start looking for contract opportunities. This portal, it's really good. You can actually go in there and see what is available to you. I'm not gonna do this live demo, so I got some screenshots and I'm gonna share those with you. So you go into NJ Start and you wanna register, because even if you don't have a certification yet, you can register in NJ Start to get information about open bids, and contract opportunities with the state. And when I say the state, it includes the state agencies. For example, some municipalities and counties have bids listed there. You may even find hospitals and higher education institutions that are all state organizations or agencies that will be there. You might find other state agencies as well that, in essence, list the open opportunities for you to find them there. One tricky part about this, I have to be completely honest with you, is that sometimes you find out when it's already a little bit too late to put together a proposal for that bid, and then you run out of time, or you miss the pre-bid meeting, or maybe you don't get to ask questions. So they have the meeting, and then they have a period of Q&As, question and answers, and then you have to submit those questions and get the answers and review what everybody asked and what answers they were published, and then you learn a little bit more. So the first run is probably going to be your test run, your learning curve. So try to do that as soon as possible so you can start learning how the process works. Here's the screenshot of the portal. You go to NJ Start, you can start looking for open bids. And if you see here, you not only get the bid solicitation on the contract opportunity here, but you get the buyer's name. Usually that is the director, purchasing director, or the person that is looking for the vendors. And it gives a brief description. This is a very brief description. When you click on the documents for the contract bid, you'll find that it could be like 25 pages of stuff, right? Forms and information you need to review. So you're gonna be going through those documents at your own pace, review, make sure you process all this information, and that you do have the capabilities to fulfill the contractual obligations that it represents. They have, if you see here, they have a bid opening date. In this case, I looked up open bids in energy tracking and bill management system they were looking for. And this was earlier this year in August. The bid opening date was that date. And usually before the bid opening date is when you have to submit it. So maybe the same day. So be mindful of the date and the time. So in this case, there's another contract here, opportunity communications, telecommunications, cable, wire, and associated products. This is for products, the other one is for services. So once you see it, you know it's good for you, you know you can do it, you want to review the documents. You might even want to meet with us to go through some of this documentation. So this is an example of a contract opportunity with the New Jersey School Development Authority, NJSDA. This is the agency of the state that handles, school construction projects. So in this case, they have the information published, and you have to go through a pre-qualification process. So what I was saying earlier, sometimes the agencies themselves have a separate certification process. In this case, you'll see that there's a pre-qualification page. You have to go in and check if you meet all the requirements, and you may need to be certified with them in order to submit your bid. This happens also with New Jersey Department of Transportation and other agencies that require a separate certification process to make sure that you know how to submit your bids, how the system works, and you're not frustrating, trying to figure things out on your own and not getting anywhere. I want to move forward here with this. This is another NJSDA, the business pre-qualification portal is asking you to submit an application. They don't give you the bid documents, the contract opportunity, what they call request for proposal, RFPs, or request for quotes, RFQs, more acronyms I forgot to put at the beginning. So the RFPs and the RFQs, these are requests for proposals that you may want to submit, but then in order to give you the documentation so you can read through it and learn if you want to go for this contract, before you even get the documentation, you need to do a quick registration, okay? So this is a very good portal. I like the New Jersey School Development Authority program because it brings in smaller companies, and they have smaller contracts, like $10,000 or $40,000 contracts. So it's easier for you to get started with a smaller contract than just going for something you cannot really handle right off the bat. So you want to learn, right? You will be able to do that on your own, though. This is something that you have to really take the initiative and get to work and make sure you qualify. So before I go into the Q&As, I have questions for you. Are you ready? I have first question, and you can answer that in the chat. I'm going to open the chat and read the answers soon. So what is a VOB? If you were paying attention, I mentioned this term a lot. What is a VOB? Anybody? Put it in the chat. I see some answers already popping in. VOB. Remember, we started with basic terms and concepts, right? And this is the reason why I do it, because you'll be hearing these over and over again, and it's going to be hard to remember some of these things, but you get used to it. So let's go for the next question. What percentage ownership you need to have to qualify for that certification? What is the percentage ownership? I see people answering. Okay. Yes, 51% or more. Okay, if you're 100% owner, that's great. If it's 50, not good enough. So what are the New Jersey certifications? Are they the same as the federal? What do you think? Did I covered that, didn't I? Okay, so are they the same, yes or no? Silence. I don't see any answers there. So what is the NJSDA? I just talked about this a slide ago. NJCA, the School Development Authority. If you're in the trades, you want to look that up because they really have contract opportunities for the smaller companies. And a $10,000 or a $40,000 contract is a pretty good contract to get started with. So, do you remember one helpful tip that I gave you throughout my presentation? I'm going to open up the chat to see what you're posting there because I want to read. Yes. One helpful tip. I see you were paying attention, people. Good. Excellent. All right. One helpful tip. You don't remember my tips? I'm hurt. Yes. Have your documents ready. Have your documents ready before applying. PDFs, absolutely. Yes, be sure to respond to requests for evidence or information. Yes, and if you're, for some reason you missed that and it gets denied, I have worked with appeals, but let me tell you, it's a cumbersome process. You have to go before a panel, present your evidence, what happened, you know, and it's better to avoid all of that. Just get everything ready and submit it at once. All right. So thank you for staying with me today and in this presentation. So let me get back to this and let's finish it off. And we're gonna take it, take the questions. All right. So put your Qs in the box, the Q&A box. Put your questions in there, and we're gonna address them. If you have questions in the chat, I'm gonna check quickly. But this is the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing and start listening. Let's see. Let me look at the chat. Okay, now let me look at the Q&A question. Somebody was asking, Simona says, still not working. Oh, never mind. Okay, she's ready to apply. Lillian is typing an answer there. Okay, so proof of operating in New Jersey, please give additional examples of operating from home. Okay, so if you're a consultant, if you are, if you have an online business and you're operating from home, that means you don't have a brick and mortar storefront. You don't have a lease in a commercial space. You're operating from home. Even that doesn't mean you have an office and people come in and out, or a store and people come in and out. That doesn't mean operating from home. Operating from home means that your office, your official business for address is your home address. Okay, that's what means operating from home. Okay, so you are okay. So Simona says, I'm a caregiver living with my mother and in her house. So how would I provide proof of operating in New Jersey? So what you can do, and this is something that I always recommend, if you are living with someone or even sharing an apartment or you have a lease, you get a letter from the landlord, the owner of the building, saying you live at this address and you operate your business from this address. That's it. Okay, it's a letter. And this is basically all that you need. And if you, let's say you have, if you have a lease, you show the lease. If you are the owner of the business and the owner of the property where you live, you want to show your tax bill or your mortgage bill to show that you're the owner. And then you give a letter saying you own the property, you operate your business from this location. Okay. I hope that answers the question, Simona. If not, go ahead and ask for more clarification. So Robin, is there a specific affidavit form that we can use? Yes, and we have that. I will definitely make sure that we share that with you. We actually share that with our clients anyway when you get started with the certification process, so you get your paperwork ready. And you're welcome to request a counseling with the centers. Right now we have in the room from the College of New Jersey, Mercer County, and also Brookdale Community College that covers Monmouth and, oh my goodness, Monmouth and I have a senior moment. I forgot the other county. There are 2 counties, right? Right, Jackie?
Yes. Ocean.
Ocean County. Okay. Monmouth and Ocean. So 2 counties are covered by Brookdale. So yes, Robin, we can get that to you. Sherelle, question from Sherelle. Does the business need to be operating for a minimum amount of time? Yeah, it can be newly registered, as I mentioned earlier, when you go into the application and they ask for 3 years of financial information. So for this year's 22, so they'll be looking for 2020 and 2021. If you were not operating in 2020, put 0. If you were not operating in 2021, put 0. If you were operating, just put the amount. It doesn't matter how much it is. Sometimes people say, I'm only making $10,000. Doesn't matter. You can put it in. For this year, you can put year to date, because if you're putting 0, then you're not really operating. It's hard to prove that you're operating when you have, no revenue. So yeah, newly registered can be done. Let me see. So another question from Robin. Okay, so Robin is okay. Okay, how long does it take? It takes a few weeks. Actually, if you apply and everything is fine, the first certification, the SBE, you get immediately when you submit the application. You get a PDF with the certification, because they already assume, depending on the amount of money you put in there, right? They assume that you are a minority, a small business enterprise. So they give you that certification right away. If you're putting in that you have $20 million in revenue, then you probably won't get it. So yeah, it comes right away. The other ones, they have to review, they have to contact you if there's something that they need to clarify or documents they need to see, but it takes about 4 weeks. And if you, let's say you are in a situation where you have a bid and you're submitting your proposal and you need your certification quickly, we can ask the director to help get it expedited, as opposed to weeks, maybe days. But it has to be very specific reason why you need it expedited, all right? And that can be one. You're applying, you're submitting your bid, and it would be great to have your certification already when you submit the bid, okay? So that should answer that question. Thank you. Suzanne, does the SBDC do certification? Okay, so we don't do the certification. You do the certification, right? It's your company doing it. We just guide you through it. And the cost is 0 from our services. I think Jackie mentioned this. We offer services to entrepreneurs and small business owners. And, you don't pay for counseling. Sometimes you pay for some trainings or webinars, but the counseling is free of charge. So consider that your tax dollars at work, because the services are offered to you through funding that we receive from the SBA and the state. And so it's free to you, but really you have to help us as well, because we have to demonstrate that we're helping you, that we're making progress with you. So one of the things we want to document is that we give you counseling, and when you get that certification, you let us know, and you help us by completing an impact attribution form saying, hey, we helped you with this. And so that is all that we ask, that you help us document your progress. and the impact that our services has on your business. So next, center's website. Okay, I think the center's website is being shared in the chat to register for counseling. Robin, if you still need it, let me know. Dr. Wallace, I don't want to pronounce your name, because your first name, because I'm gonna butcher it and I don't want to do that. But Dr. Wallace says, my question is about business registration. I have a registration in New York, but have moved to New Jersey. Do I have a new registration? Okay, yeah. If you're operating in New York and now you want to register in New Jersey, you can file your business registration in New Jersey. I don't know if you're going to be operating both New York and New Jersey. What the New Jersey certification process requires is that you are registered in New Jersey, meaning NJ Reg should be filed. You got a business registration certificate and a certificate of authority in New Jersey, and then show that 51% of employees are in New Jersey, 51% or more of revenue is derived from New Jersey sales. So it's a little bit more complex in this case, but maybe we can review that during counseling. Susan Sinclair. Oh, do you recommend companies who do the certification? You can. I don't recommend third-party processors. I think that's what you're talking about. The company that does the certification is your company. You do it. We help you with the process. We guide you through it. We answer questions, and we can definitely inquire, but we cannot really recommend other entities. I don't believe that we have a list of processors. Now, if you're talking about going for a national council like NAJOB, or like the Women Business Owner Council, or the Minority Business Council, these are national organizations. They have their processes, and they're more complex, and there are people that specialize in those processes, and they help you with it. But that's a different certification altogether. What we're talking about here is really strictly New Jersey certification, the state certifications. So we don't have an agency, other than the SBDCs to help you with it. So there are 11 SBDCs in the state of New Jersey. So if you're here from another county, I'm sure that we can help and direct you to the right center. Okay. Okay, so I'm looking at the next one from Sherelle. If the business is newly registered, for example, this month. Yeah, so if it's newly registered, it's operational, but not deriving any revenue. Maybe you can try it. I mean, I've seen organizations get approved right away. But what's going to happen is a year from now, the certification is good for a year. They'll go back and check that you are operating, that you have contracts, you have revenue. They want to see your bank account or bank statement. So this is where they may be asking for more information. Okay. So yeah, you might get a request for more evidence or clarification. Okay, so Sherelle is looking. So Sherelle, if you're looking to register a new business, the centers also assist with that. If you're registering a new LLC, we help with the process of getting your LLC, your tax ID, your certificate of authority or business registration certificate. So maybe you want to sign up for a counseling session.
I do have a question, or rather a clarification, because the affidavit part, and Reina, thank you for a wonderful presentation. We are extremely grateful. Your knowledge you over deliver as always. Thank you so much for that, and for educating all of us that are either on the call or in person here today. But a question came up, and it's something that we looked up on our end, and it had to do with the affidavit because now everything is being uploaded into the system. And according to a representative from BAC, indicated that all you had to do was put a letter affirming that the information you were providing was true and signing that. Before it used to be notarized, because I remember the last form where notarization, you had to have it notarized by someone, and I remember that being part of the process. But as of recent, I just, I wasn't sure if you received information on that. We did. And it was less than a year ago where they informed us that it wasn't necessary, even when you're uploading all the documents, that it just only has to be a letter. So I wasn't sure if you have anything towards that, or is that a clarification? So what can you tell us about that?
If the big Business Action Center says so, that's what it is. I'm good with that. So it might have been that they removed the notarization requirement, but they still need our letter, right, certifying. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks for clarifying. Wonderful, Jackie.
So yes, no, just because things are always changing. I mean, nothing really stays the same anymore for us. I mean, I remember years ago when doing it, as you mentioned before, was on paper. So now everything is a little streamlined, the site where they have to go to, and the fact, as you mentioned, that they could just go on and apply for certain certifications all at once to make it easier is a great thing. So, New Jersey is changing. They are embracing technology like the rest of us, as you can see through this event that's both in person and on Zoom. With its challenges and everything, we always make it work. That's us at the Small Business Development Center, making sure that it works. I did put in the chat our state office's website, which is njsbdc.com. And you could go onto that page, and there's an area on that home page where it says sign up for counseling. This way you could put it in. And even though you were part of this webinar today, or you were here in person, I want you to know that by putting your information in there, it's going to guide you to the center that you need to go to within your location. Just in case you're not within Monmouth and Ocean or Mercer County or Southern Jersey, because this was more for the southern part of New Jersey, that we want to make sure that we're providing you with all the information and education you need in order for your business to continue moving forward. So with that, I'm not sure if my colleague, Lily, would you like to say a few words?
Please, as Jackie mentioned, if you would like to request a counseling session, remember it's at no cost to you. We can do it one by one, evaluate your documents, and submit everything through the state, and that way we get you certified. For those who are not located within Mercer or Monmouth or Ocean County, we can refer you to the center that is closer to you. Also remind you that we are having the next procurement event is going to be in January, about how to get into the vendor list for all the healthcare industries. We're going to send you an update on that, and then we're also going to send you a recording of this presentation along with the slides. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us. We put in the chat all our information about our centers and the website. So please just give us a call or sign for the counseling. Thank you all.
So I believe with that, we are ending our procurement event. Remember, this was 2 out of the 6 that we're having. If you haven't seen the flyer, do take a moment, visit our website, either TCNJ's SBDC website or ours, which is mosbdc.com. And there's more information on the upcoming seminars, workshops that we're having regarding procurement, because procurement is an opportunity for small businesses to generate revenue, another revenue stream. So you'd be surprised what I always say, if you're not familiar with our government, they seem to have money most of the time. Even during bad times, they seem to have money. And actually getting into procurement, it takes a while. It's not something that happens overnight. So I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that, oh, I registered and the contracts or the opportunities are going to flood in. It takes work on your part, and the more you are involved, the more you educate yourself in the process. And knowing, our first one had to do with how to work with the higher education system, how to get onto their vendor list. As Lily mentioned, the next one that we're going to have is how to get on the healthcare vendor list as well. And these are opportunities that small businesses can start small. You know, you could be a subcontractor to someone else who may need your certification in order to gain a contract. So you would be doing them a service as well as a service to yourself as a small business owner by starting to engage in the process. So once again, thank you all for participating. I do hope you had a wonderful morning. And next time, I hope to see you more in person. Like I said, we are trying to make the hybrid situation work, but it's always lovely to see more of you in person.